All right, greetings everyone. Welcome to ShiftCo. My name is Stephen Donaco. I'm the Director of Programming, and it is my pleasure to host this session on Hack Your Profits with our master teacher, Admira Adovic. And before I hand the floor to her, let me just mention really quickly that we have got a couple of other events coming up. All of our public events are free, so feel free to sign up for anything and everything that moves you. You can go to shiftco.global/events to see what we've got coming up. Two events of note are March 2nd at 11:30 a.m. is Rocket Fuel, Growing Your Business Authentically. And then a month from today on March 22nd at 11 a.m. Central is another session in our Conscious Leadership series, and it's called Waking Up to Diversity. So with that, without any further ado, let me hand it off to Admira, and we look forward to a really rich conversation and presentation. So Admira, the floor is yours.
Awesome. Thank you so much, Stephen. So let me pull up my presentation. 1 second. So this should work magic in a minute. Okay. Everyone should be able to see my slide now. Yes?
Yes.
Awesome. And give me 1 second. I'm going to pull up my chat on the other side because I like to, there we go. Awesome. Now we are in business. So hello, everyone, and welcome to this amazing event that ShiftCo organized. So we're going to talk about hacking your profits in a minute, and I will do a little bit deeper introduction about myself in a minute as well. But before we get started with all of that, what I would like to start with, first, thank you to all that introduced yourself and told us a little bit about yourself. So next, what I would like to learn is understanding what brought you to today's masterclass or webinar. I have few reasons why. There we go. That I'm going to post right now. So if any of you can put in the chat few of the reasons what brought you here. If none of them resonate and there's another reason, by all means, tell me about it. I want to know. If you'd like to come off mute and share, that is also all of these. I love that, Jen. Please also come off mute if you'd like to. Otherwise, I'm going to read the chat. So all of these, scale and grow my business. Okay. Scale and grow. Awesome. Anyone else? Get out of debt and grow. Scale and grow. Okay, so we have a theme. Looks like scale and grow is the theme. All of the above. Yes, I know. Okay, support personal dreams. Oh, I love that, Kevin. Scale and grow and work less, earn more. Diane, I'm with you. Start managing my money between business and personal. Love that as well, JM. Awesome. Okay, so here's the good news. The good news is that with my one-on-one work with clients, and even in the course that I'll talk a little bit more at the end, I addressed all of these. Unfortunately, though, we're not going to be able to talk about all of them today. And plus, I would not want to overwhelm you with everything today. But what we are going to address today, we're going to talk about what are you trying to accomplish, and roughly a roadmap how you're going to get there. So I like to do my presentations a little bit different in that I'm not going to do yet another boring finance workshop for you all. So, I'm going to try to stay away from that. I like to make things fun. And so we're going to make this more interactive. So I'll ask a couple of questions and you guys will help me answer. And there will be 2 activities and 2 tools that I'm going to share today that you can take from today's presentation and apply it in your business and start seeing better results. Okay, so here's the first serious question of the day. How many of you have a 2022 revenue goal? If you do, put 1 in the chat. If you don't, that's totally okay, but it would be good to know. So put 2 in the chat. 1. I'm loving this already. There's a 2. It's totally okay. 1. Okay, great. Here's a follow-up question. How many of you have a why behind that goal? Let me elaborate. If your goal is, well, last year I did X, and this year I multiplied that by a certain percentage I would like to grow, put 1 in the chat. If you have, well, I want to try to accomplish a certain goal this year, and in order to do that, I need to bring in this much more revenue. If that's how you came up with a goal, put 2 in the chat. I'm loving this already. I see a lot of 2s, which is awesome. Most of the times I get 1s, you guys. So I am already over the moon happy about this. Awesome. Great. So now here is the problem. 30% of small businesses are just breaking even. 30% are constantly losing revenue. And only 9% of small businesses get a chance to survive beyond 10 years. I also heard Terry talk about this statistic in some of her workshops. And these are statistics that came out of SBA. And that to me is very shocking. When I saw that only 9% of small businesses get a chance to survive beyond 10 years, it was very depressing. But here's what is more shocking. 86% of small businesses do not support owners' lifestyle. 86% of small businesses pay their owners less than $100,000 a year. Now, a few of you shared that you live in New York. So do I. And in New York, $100,000 barely will get you to pass by, let alone accomplish any kind of dreams. Now, closing more sales alone, bringing in more revenue in alone, does not help you achieve the life that you want. Now, this has been something I've been passionate about for a very long time, as long as I can remember. And it's something that I learned from very early age, and something that I've been carrying on and trying to help entrepreneurs do. And that is build small businesses to support the lifestyle of the owner. Now, some of you might wonder, where's this accent coming from? I know I've lived here for many years and I have not been able to get rid of my accent. And finally, I have decided to just keep it. So I am originally from Montenegro, born and raised in this little tiny bitty country in Europe that most of you probably never heard of. It is somewhat a newer country. Now, do not be fooled by its size. We're very rich in nature. And here, I'll show you some of the pictures, few of which I took myself. Now, I learned all about business and running a business right in front of my parents' store. I started working alongside my dad since I was 9, and that picture on the left is me and my father at my first job ever, which was an ice cream fridge manager. It was in front of that store that my dad taught me all about running a business, starting from finances, cash management, gross profit margin, and everything else in between. But there's one lesson that he taught me that stuck with me for years, is that a small business is successful only if it is able to support the owner's lifestyle. And in return, the owner is able to do a better good with it. So my father had this amazing legacy and we were trying to carry on, which is extending a helping hand. And he made it a mission to help others in the community at the same time as he was building his own business. And I've seen him do this in many ways, but there's one that stuck with me, and which was during the war between Serbia and Kosovo. He hosted as many refugees as he could, both in our apartment in the city and at home. And it is that stuck with me for many years. Now, when he was arrested during some troubling times, because we were ethnic minorities in Montenegro, I ended up running my parents' store. I was only 15 when I did this. And so I know what I'm talking about when I say small business, because I've done it since I was a very young girl. Now, today, I do what my dad used to do. I help small business entrepreneurs understand their business numbers so they can run their business more efficiently and grow their business so it can support the lifestyle that they want, which in return they are able to help others. Now, there's a little bit more to me than just running a small store in a little tiny bitty country in Europe. And that is, I am actually a CFO. I have over 10 years of experience working with multiple companies, including a multinational company. I did get a couple of degrees because I wanted to understand the full aspects of finance, including economics, finance, and accounting. And just like Stephen said, I am a master teacher here at ShiftGo, and I'm also a trustee with CFO Leadership Council's DEI program. Now, how do I help my clients achieve the life that they want? This is a big question. So I'd like to say it's simple, but it's not as simple. What I do is, first, I understand what are they trying to accomplish, both personally and business. And then we quantify those goals or objectives. And then we create a plan that they can tackle each and every month to get them closer to that goal. Now, goals depend. Every one of us has different. Some of them are long-term, some are short-term. Whatever they are, it doesn't really matter. What matters is that each month we know what exactly we're working so hard for. Okay, now, all of us have some kind of goals. Let me make, okay, yes. So there's one fun fact about me actually, and that is that I love traveling. Before COVID, we used to travel a lot. During COVID, it reduced a little bit, and now hopefully it's gonna pick up again. And because I love to travel so much, I look at finance as a journey. And when I say a journey, I mean, we start with where do you want to go? And then how we get to the final destination. So that's a journey. So today we're gonna figure out where do we want to go? My approach on this is a little different. So when we talk about where do you want to go, really I'm talking about goals. Most of us on this call know, heard, or have done goals in some shape or form. Some people don't like to call it goals and they call it objectives. Whatever you want to call it, pretty much what it is, it's something we're trying to achieve in the future. Now, having goals and writing them down is really important because it gives us direction and helps us focus on what's important. In order for goals to be achievable, though, we have to understand where we are, where do you want to be, and then figure out how we're going to get there. Now, when I say I do goals a little bit different, is that I like to bucket them into 3 different categories. And I encourage you to do the same thing. And here's why. The buckets that I like to put my goals in are a need, a want, and a dream. A need is simply survival mode. I need to eat. I need to dress. I need to put a roof over my head. These are all needs. And therefore, a business must, and I'm gonna underline, must support your needs every single month. And if it doesn't, then you really have to look at what is not working and then fix it right away. Then we have the wants, and the wants is nice to have. So I need to rent, but it would be nice if I owned a home, right? Owning a home is not a need. It's more something we would like to have. And therefore, it is achievable, but we have to categorize it what it is for. So if you're year 1 in business, your priority is to make sure that business is supporting your need. If you're, say, year 3 in business, and again, each business is a little different, then your business should be starting to support your wants a little bit, right? And a dream is something we wish for. Dreams are usually 10 years or longer. So a dream could be, I want a penthouse in Manhattan. Definitely is not a need. You know, we do not have to live in a penthouse in Manhattan, but it is a dream. All of these can be accomplished and are doable. But understanding the priorities, it's what's going to help you move the needle much faster. Now, here's one tip I want to give today. As you're going through these goals and trying to categorize them correctly, for a want, I want you to have a 1 year goal and then a little longer. Wants usually are between 1 year and 5 years. The reason why is because while I tell people to plan for the future, I want you to live today. So I want you to start rewarding yourself for all the hard work, starting sooner rather than later, because future is just not guaranteed. So we want to be able to start rewarding ourselves very early on. So that's just one tip I want to give you on that, but do bucket these goals into the 3 categories. Now, today we're going to do 2 activities at the same time as I'm going to give you the 2 tools. So for the first activity today, what I would like you to do is I would like you to share one goal that you've been wanting to achieve for a very long time. However, life got in the way. Business asked for another reason to invest in the business and not on your goal, or whatever the case might be. What is that one goal you're trying to accomplish, or you've been trying to accomplish, but put it away? And let's see if we can, if somebody's willing to come off mute, actually we can do this live. If somebody's willing to come off mute and share that, let's see how we can make that happen this year. Anybody? Somebody's coming off mute. Manisha, did I pronounce
hi. Yes, absolutely. In fact, I am ready to go. So if I may, there is a little background, and I'm going to take like 2 minutes to just, kind of narrate this background. I've been an architect, not practicing design in architecture, but, qualified as an architect and working in the Indian corporate real estate industry for the last 25 years.
Okay.
What has changed in life in the last, I think, 2 or 3 years is that so I'm a single parent and I have 2 daughters. My youngest daughter was diagnosed with something called spinal muscular atrophy when she was about 10 months old. And this happened about a decade ago. At that point of time, there was actually no treatment available. Unfortunately or fortunately, today there is a treatment available from the pharma company called Roche Pharma. And thankfully, it's available right in our own country. But the reason I'm giving you this background is that this treatment cost is atrociously expensive. So if I had to give you a comparison, it's INR, one crore. If I had to convert that, it works out to $100,000 a year, if not more. And that is not the pay scale that a 25 years plus experience person gets in the real estate industry here, thanks to gender inequality, et cetera, et cetera. So though my last position was as a vice president of a company, I was earning actually half the amount of money. So the whole decision to turn into an entrepreneur arose from there. When I told myself that, lady, you've got enough contacts, you have enough experience. And if the industry is not going to, sort of acknowledge that and pay you your worth, why can't you start something of your own? And hence, I had launched the startup called Beyond One. Unfortunately, fortunately, again, the pandemic stepped in because, you really can't be prepared from all angles of your life. However, the plan still remains. So I am still, planning to execute this idea, this dream of having the startup, the business, so that I can be independently earning as much as I can, and be able to support not just this, heavy budget medical, cost, which is right now, a demon staring in the face of the family, but also the basic needs of my other daughter, myself, grow as a startup entrepreneur, et cetera, et cetera. Because I think as a country also, there is a lot of encouragement being given to the startups here. So I see that it's not going to be easy. It's going to be a tough journey, but yes, you have to be a hacker. You have to figure things out. One of the reasons why I'm here.
Okay, awesome. So if I were to summarize, you're starting a business, and beside your needs, which is your survival mode, you would like to sponsor this treatment. That is, did I hear it correctly? You said it's $100,000 a year?
Yes, a little more than that. So if you ask me, I probably need to make $2,500 to $3,000, $300,000 a year. to be able to support startup, medical treatment, and this is all for survival mode. I'm not talking about the want and the dreams at all.
Okay. Okay. Well, this is a good question. I'm thinking at the same time. So it is doable. I mean, by the way, anything I'm saying today, I'm not saying it's easy. There's nothing such a thing as it being easy, but it is doable as long as you can concentrate and focus on one thing at a time. So when you, and I'm going to give you a few tips in a minute of how to figure out where you can save the money. And how old is your business right now? Is it just started?
It's just started, Admira, I think about a year old, with all the break owing to the COVID, the pandemic breakout.
Got it. And so have you been able to hit the revenue goals you set for the first year?
Not at all. It's been awfully bad. This entire scenario has been awfully bad in the country. So I come from the commercial real estate side of the industry, and the entire scenario here has been waxing. I wouldn't say waxing, actually waning. Lower and lower because of the recurring waves. So the entire leasing portfolio of companies is getting altered. Workplace strategies are changing. There are lots of rapid changes happening here. So obviously you have to modify your business plan accordingly.
Okay. And so this treatment you're talking about, this is something, it's a must for your daughter.
It
right?
is a must for her survival. Yes, it's a life-saving drug.
Got it.
And it's a lifelong treatment. Yeah.
Got it. Okay. So I am not a sales consultant. So by all means, I can't help you on the sales side. That's something that you would need to, and at Shift Goal, Stefan will talk about more about at the end, might be areas where they can help you as well. What I would do when you come up with a plan for your business is I would look at the revenue minus all the costs that it takes to earn that revenue. And then I will deduct your must and need, which is the 300,000 looks like for the year you're talking about. And then whatever is left, that's what you actually invest in the business. Now, if you're doing this or not, I'm not sure. But I encourage all of my entrepreneurs to do that, which is kind of reverse engineering. Usually it is revenue minus cost of goods sold, minus expenses, and whatever is left you take for yourself. And I try to tell my entrepreneurs to do the opposite. Take you first, because if you cannot make yourself survive, this business is not going to survive. And I use this example a lot, actually, because I love to travel. When you get on a plane and they do these safety presentations and whatever, they tell you, in case the oxygen goes off, the oxygen mask will come out. First, put it on yourself and then people around you. And I do the same thing for business. And I say this to my entrepreneurs all the time. Put yourself first, then everything else. Because we tend to want to invest, like I hear it, not 10 out of 10, not even 9 out of 10, 10 out of 10. I hear entrepreneurs where they say, well, I just put it back in the business because I want it to grow and blah, 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 all of that. Yes, but if you cannot take care of yourself first, you're not going to grow the business. It just doesn't work. So I would do that. I'm going to give you 2 other tips about where to look for money in your business that could help with some of this, but do that reverse engineering first and then figure out what that revenue is. Now, look, starting a new business is not easy. If the revenue is not coming in for what you expected in that particular area, that's when you have to look at what other areas can I explore for the time being until the country gets into the real estate where you can invest in. Or maybe it's outside of your country. That's another thing you want to, but you want to be very specific. What are you trying to accomplish? And that's one thing to think about is like, I need this, and to do this, I must have this. And therefore that's what I'm going to focus on. Does that make sense, Manisha?
I think it does, Admira, because obviously, when the business plan was drawn up before the launch, the scenario was completely different. The geographic area of servicing clients was very, very specific to the country. I think what you have in your, I mean, the tip that you shared has got a valid point, that maybe expanding the geography, adding few more um, angles to the business would help, because you're looking at an exponential growth now. So I think
Yeah,
yes, it makes sense. And also the reverse engineering. Reverse engineering is something again that I've very strongly believed in myself, because I've been a strategic advisor and a mentor to startups, and I think we follow that blindfolded. Because if you can't support yourself, you can never support your business, and that goes without saying. That's a formula that works.
absolutely. I mean, at the end, you're going to end up rack up debt in your personal life. Debt has a very heavy lift on
Absolutely.
anyone. And so that's why I'm almost against it, especially for running a business, because it takes much longer to move forward. Here's one other tip I'm going to give you about, I did this with my client when COVID hit, and we had the whole yearly plan. Everything was working great. March comes, everything goes on shutdown. She loses half of her clients. And we had to just shift right away. And she was very, very proactive, which I loved, because we ran scenarios, tried to figure out. But here's one thing I told her at the beginning, before pandemic hit, I told her to be selective with her contracts. Like, okay, do not take 30-day contracts. They're not worth it for you. Let's take longer term contracts. COVID hit. Guess what I told her? Take anything you can get right now. Anything you can get, you take. Even if it's 20 days, it doesn't matter. And she did that. August came around. Things started improving. Her contracts started coming back in. Now we're back to selective mode. Now we're like, okay, I'm not going to work with these contracts. It's more waste of my time. But again, unfortunately, with COVID, we have learned that we have to be very adaptive rather than selective. And so when it's crunch time, you have to put yourself first, and you have to do whatever you need to do to make sure that is covered. And then once it improves, that's when you can be like, okay, now I can be selective. Now I don't have to do all of these, but I can do these. Hopefully this makes sense. Okay,
Absolutely.
awesome. Thank you for participating, Manisha. This was awesome. Okay, now that we know what we're trying to accomplish, and Manisha shared this, where do we find the money? Because like I just mentioned, most of the business owners tend to invest back in the business. And I'm like, I'll put it all back in. I mean, I was at fault too. And I had to like sit down and do my own reflection and be like, wait a second, let's reverse engineer here. What am I trying to accomplish? And when it comes to figuring out where are we going to find the money, we need to understand where are we now. And this is more financy. So now we're going to talk a little bit about finance here, and we're going to go over a few terms. I'm going to give you two numbers that are really important, and will tell you two things about your business. One, it's going to tell you if you're running a healthy business or not. And two, it's going to tell you if you are running an efficient business or not. Okay, first is a gross profit margin. How many of you have actually heard about this term and know what it means? If you do, put one in the chat, and if not, totally okay. 9 out of 10 of my clients usually don't. You can put 2 in the chat because it will be helpful to know. I'm loving this crowd. Love the ones. 1.5. Awesome. Great. Okay, so before I tell you the terms and what this means for your business, one of the gifts I have is making finance easy. And this is because this is what my dad taught me. And so as an ice cream fridge manager, the first term my father taught me was a gross profit margin. Let's just say I loved to eat more ice cream than I sold. And so he was trying to make me stop eating ice cream and just sell more. And so he would tell me, you need to increase the gross profit margin. And I'd be like, and what is that? He's like, that's how healthy your business is. So you know how you're going to do this? I'm like, no, Dad, how? Eat less, sell more. That's how you increase the gross profit margin. And so in formal terms, what it means is it tells you two things about the business. It tells you, one, how valuable your services are or products to the market. And 2, it tells you if you're delivering your product or service effectively. To put this in more example terms, if you have too much competition around you, you cannot charge top dollar because your competitors, your customers are going to go to the competitor, right? So what is your value proposition? What is that it's so unique about you that you can charge more? I will give you one example about one of my clients. They're a technology company, and back in the day, and I'm talking 2013, ad tech, which was advertising industry, was unknown, meaning like there was not a lot of skills. And so they tapped into that industry and they're like, okay, we're going to be so good at that tech and we're going to be leaders in this market. And they were able to charge top dollar. A few years later, their margins started going down. We're like, what's happening? Something is not working. Something is not there. We were having these great margins that started dipping month after month. Well, we learned that ad tech was saturated. We had way too much competition in that particular industry and we couldn't charge top dollar anymore. So we had to shift to another sector of the technology, right? So gross margin tells you this. If you start seeing dips in your gross margin, it's telling you something is not working. So kind of wake up, figure out what is going on. And second is effectiveness. So imagine if you have fixed contracts and you constantly going over budget. Gross margin is going to tell you this. And therefore, that means that either you have to train your team better or certain projects you don't have skills to do them right. And therefore, you have to spend way more time to do them or deliver on them than you should. So gross profit is one of the key numbers that I tell all my entrepreneurs. It's a must for you to pay attention to. Again, is your business healthy or not? Now, how do you calculate it? Simple. It's gross profit equals revenue minus cost of goods sold. And cost of goods sold is pretty much something you had to do to earn that money, right? So unless you have a course where it's like, it's a product where people just buy, most of us in service-based business, we have to deliver into something. The gross margin in return is just a percentage. So it's gross profit over revenue gives you the gross profit margin. Now, how many of you actually use QuickBooks or some kind of software to run your books? Put one in the chat or put your hands up. Awesome. Okay, so if you use a software of some sort, what I would like you to do is pull up your P&L. So if you use QuickBooks, you're just gonna go under reports, you're gonna put P&L, and then run it for last year. Awesome, Liz. And when you do, you should have something like income, cost of goods sold, and gross profit. Okay. Now I'm going to ask you to calculate your gross profit margin, but do not share it in chat unless you're comfortable doing so. I would ask you not to share. So what I want you to do is in your P&L, when you look at it, you're going to see gross profit, and then you're going to divide it by revenue. That's going to give you a percentage. In my case, in this example of mine, I have 69.5%, 69.5%. Yes, I did say that right. Once you calculate it, go ahead and give me a thumbs up, or let's use a different number than 1 in the chat. Let's use 9. If you calculated it, put 9 in the chat, just so I know that you actually did do the math. And I'm gonna then share, how do you know if you have a healthy business or not? Okay, so while we're waiting for people to actually do this piece, figuring out if you have a healthy business or not is kind of a tricky question because it depends what kind of business you are in. Each industry has their own margins. So I would recommend that you do a little research to figure out what's your industry average. It also depends on the size of the business. Bigger businesses usually have lower margins than smaller businesses. If you are in the service-based business and you want to find out those numbers, email me. I do have the data because I focus on service-based businesses, and I can send you that information. But if you're in any other industry, I would recommend you do the research. As a rule of thumb, though, for today's call, until you figure out better numbers, as a rule of thumb, if you're in a service-based business, use 50% as your target. If your margin is more than 50%, then you know you have a healthy business. If your margin is less than 50%, then you need to do a little bit of work. Now, if you have less than 50%, the first thing I would ask you to do is figure out if you have included all of your cost of goods sold in COGS. Again, because I see it all the time. Most of the times the information is not all there. So if you do not have all the information there, you're not going to get an accurate number. If for any reason you have less than 50%, then what I would like you to do is create a plan. Okay, Jen, we're going to address that question at the end. Now I lost track of what I was going to say. So if it's less than 50%, yes. What I want you to do is create a plan for this year, how you're going to go up. Each quarter, you should focus on increasing your gross margin 1 to 2%, but not more, because it's just not doable. It's not realistic. So, but if you focus 1% at a time, that's going to get you there faster. And some of the decisions you might have to make, again, it depends. Is it valuable for me to have this client? It's costing me a lot in margin. Maybe yes, maybe not. I don't know. So one of the questions you might ask, is it, do we need to do more training to deliver more efficiently? Maybe yes, maybe not. I don't know. So it's something you're gonna really have to look at, because this number is key before anything else comes in. If you don't have this number healthy, that's really where your money is, right? So you have to fix that before you can fix anything else. All right. Next, we're going to talk about, are you running an efficient business? And when I talk about efficiency, I actually like to talk a little bit about meaningful numbers. So when I say meaningful numbers, what I really mean is they do answer basic questions about your business that you want to know. How many of you have a P&L that now you have it up that is in alphabetical order? Like it starts with advertising fees and then bank fees, C for client meals, etc. How many of you have that? By show of hands. Okay, Manisha. Awesome. JM. Most of my clients do. Now, there's nothing wrong about that to begin with, Liz. There's nothing wrong with having a P&L that is in alphabetical order. It's just not meaningful. Because as a rule of thumb, if I were to ask you a simple question such as, what are your sales and marketing expenses? And you're going to spend time trying to add all of them up, that's not meaningful. Now, what makes meaningful numbers then? They have 3 attributes. 1, they have to be relevant. So your expenses have to be grouped in 3 to 5 categories. I will illustrate an example in a minute. 2, they have to be reliable, meaning your bookkeeping is actually done no later than the 15th of the month. Now, I do my own bookkeeping for my business. Go figure, right? I'm a finance person. It would make sense. My books are closed the 2nd of the month. By the 1st of the month, I do the invoicing. 2nd of the month, I'm closing the books. I understand where my previous month came in, and I understand what I need to focus on current month. If you close your books the 15th or after, you already lost half of the month. And with only half of the month left, there's not a lot of room for you to figure out what you need to do. So sooner you get the books done, better it is. And if you have a bookkeeper who handles this, just set up expectations with them and be like, hey, I would like to see my books closed by X date. I have the 15th of the month because some businesses are actually big and they need time to close the books, but smaller businesses should not take long. And 3, they have to be consistent. Like example, if you have Adobe license, for example, it should always be dues and subscriptions. It should not be 1 day, 1 month dues and subscriptions, next month legal fees, third month rent. All of those categories are wrong. But the point is, it should always be consistent as one expense. All right, now here's an example of what that meaningful P&L looks like. So earlier I showed you the P&L up to the gross profit. Now we're looking at expenses. In this particular example, I have 4 categories, right? 1, 2, 3, 4. I have 4 categories. And under each category, I have sub. However, if I were to be asked, hey, what are your sales and marketing expenses for 2020 or 2021? Oh, no problem, 272,000. Great. Simple. I don't have to add anything. I just ran the report. But what are your operating expenses? Oh, 274. Therefore, but under each general administrative, I have separate categories, like I have accounting and bank charges, whatever it is, so all the details I need to see. Why is this important? Because I want to understand what are my fixed expenses that I cannot get away without spending. Usually those are operating, right? Like I can cut somewhere here and there in the general administrative, but most of the time, really there's not a lot of wiggle room. But guess what I can cut on? Sales and marketing. If I see that I'm not getting my return on investment, you bet I'm going to start cutting in here. Same thing. What are my payroll expenses? I can all see payroll expenses is not just salaries, by the way. I see this all the time as well. There's so much more that goes into payroll and having an employee than just a salary. Having that full picture in here helps you understand what your payroll expenses are. Okay, now, big question is, how are we running an efficient business? So for all of you that have the P&L up, go ahead and take a look, and I want you to calculate the following. You're going to take the total expenses, which in my case are 1,005,000, and you're going to divide it by the gross profit, which in my case is 1.1. And then once you have that percentage, again, if you're comfortable, go ahead and share it in the chat. And then I'm going to tell you if you are an efficient business or not. In my example here, it's 84%, 84.2%. I calculated earlier. Okay, we're going to run a little bit out of time. So yes, the formula is take the total expenses and divide it by the gross profit. If you do not have cost of goods sold right now, one, please do have them. But if you don't, then divide it by your total income. And you're going to calculate if you're running an efficient business, which I'm going to give you the numbers in a minute, or results in a minute. Okay, so why are you guys doing this? Here are the results. I did not come up with these numbers, by the way. This is research and the numbers that are being used in the business world. So if your percentage, so first of all, if your business is between 0 and 250, so if you're a small business, 0 to 250,000 of gross profit, and your percentage you just calculated is more than 30%, you are not running an efficient business. And that is okay, because it's good to know, because you're going to go now through all of your expenses and figure out how you're going to reduce the expenses to make it more efficient. Now note that higher the business, higher the percentages. Okay, bigger you have a business, more expenses you have to support your business. Now there's one other thing I want to mention in here, which is my percentages are not adding up to 100%. So 30 plus 5, 35, 65 and 10, 75. The difference in percentage, it's owner's draw. So if you're a small business, most of the money should go to the owner because you're doing most of the work. And so 65% should go to owner's draw and taxes. Okay, so take a look where you are in the business and what that percentage is. If it's not within these guidelines, then there is where the money is, which means in the next quarter, 2 or 3, you're going to start creating a plan of how you're going to reduce the operating expenses 1 to 2% per quarter. And if you do these two, just these two, operations and the gross profit, you're going to start making more money in the business. Now I'm going to leave you with this, which is there has to be enough money in the business to pay you, cover all of your operating costs, and have profit, or it's not worth doing. Now, there's a lot of businesses that unfortunately they're not worth doing, but it's good to know from early on rather than much later. All right, so I have one last slide, and then I'm going to hand it over to questions and Stephen. And that is what I just talked about today is just the tiny bit of all the information we cover in the Profit Accelerator. It's a course available at SHIFCO. So again, I mentioned I'm a master teacher for SHIFCO. It's in core. So if you're a member, it is available to you as part of the membership. So go ahead, take the course. We go from goals to how you create a plan and how you execute the plan. You have pre-built models there, and I walk you through each step of the way. My course is not just lectures. It's pretty much, I want you to be successful, and therefore I walk you through each step of the way, how to fill out the models and what you need to do in order to be successful and have a business that supports you. If you're not a SHIFCO member, Stephen is going to talk to you a little bit more about how to become one. And now I'm going to hand it over to Stephen, and then we'll open it to questions.
Great, thanks, Admira. Actually, let's do it the other way around real quick. If anybody's got questions, let's take those first, and then I'll conclude with a couple.
Awesome. So yes, let's open it to questions. I need some help. How do I get the profit percent and the operating investing expense? Anne, do you mind coming off mute and just elaborate a little bit on that?
Sure. I'm sorry. This is my first ever like bookkeeping webinar. So it's really new to me. So in the previous chart, you mentioned you had the gross profit and then profit and operation investment expenses, and then had percentages next to them. And I just got confused as to how you got those percentages, even though I took notes throughout the whole thing. And I think I know what gross profit margin is now, I think.
Yes. Awesome. So the gross profit percent, the way you come up with that is, so the formula is gross profit over revenue gives you gross profit margin. To illustrate that, so you take when you run a P&L in QuickBooks, and I know you mentioned that you have QuickBooks, so you're going to take the gross profit. If you do not have cost of goods sold, you're not going to have a gross profit.
Okay.
So that's the first step you need to do, is make sure that you include your cost of goods sold. Okay. So that the only way you'll be able to calculate. The second one, which was the efficiency one, right? What you're going to do about the efficiency one, you're going to take total expenses, all of them, and divide them by the gross profit. Again, if you do not have COGS, you're not going to have a gross profit. So in this case, you're going to divide it by your income for now, until you start putting in the cost of goods sold and have a gross profit. Does that make sense?
Sure.
Yeah, well, I'm going to put my contact information.
Yeah, let's say yes. And then how did those percentages in that chart? I'm sorry, I'm really trying to get this. The 5% profit.
Yes.
You said it has to be over 50 though, right?
So depending where you are in the business, right? So let's assume you're between 0 and 250 for the sake of this illustration. So your yearly revenue gross profit is between 0 and 250. Then 30% should be operating expenses.
Okay, now I
5% should be profit. And the other 65%, which is missing from this chart, should be owner's pay and tax. Is that a little clearer?
Yes, thank you. I think I got confused on the numbers. I thought the profit was the GPM percentage, which was supposed to be over 50. And then okay. So we're good.
No,
Thank
so
you very
the
much.
profit is the bottom, which is net operating income in QuickBooks. It would be called net operating income, also called profit. That this number should be 5%. But good catch, Anne. That was really good.
Okay. No, thank you for explaining it to me.
Absolutely. Yeah. Any other questions?
And let me mention that you will get this is being recorded and everyone will get a link to the recording of this. So you can go back and review anything that you want to get a little more clarity on.
Absolutely. And all of the members that go through the course, I am the master teacher, so you can ping me and hop on a call with me, and I'm more than happy to walk you through things if things are a little confusing, because yes, in finance, a lot of terms mean a same thing, but it can get confusing. So if you're a member, you go through the course, you have my contact information, ping me. I'm your master teacher.
All right. Great, Admira, thank you so much. If you want to stop sharing, I got a couple of quick slides.
Absolutely.
This is basically if you are not a SchiffCo member, just to give you a couple of quick points about the platform. If you do join, if you're moved by this presentation and what Admira presented, and you're curious to learn more about SchiffCo, your business will grow using our platform. Most of our members do grow their businesses. You'll receive support from an amazing community of leaders, among them Admira as a master teacher. And then we believe collectively, we make a bigger impact, that we're stronger together. So we do have a lot of member events where members come together and network and provide one another with support. This is our growth platform. All I'll say about this is that just pay attention to this last line, grow to where you want to be. So members who come in, let's say at the launch phase, you're a new business or you've been in business a little while and your revenue has been relatively low, and you're looking to grow. That's what we're all about, is business growth. But it's to grow where you want to be. We don't expect everybody coming in at launch wants to grow a $10 million business. So you would pick a destination in our model, and then we customize the experience for you. So nobody's put into a cookie cutter in the platform. Some of the benefits that you get as a member is, first, you're assigned a mentor, and it's the member's first point of contact and your guide through your whole experience with SchiffCo. The core training are the courses that we provide to build your skills. Among them, Admira's course in conscious profits. Some of our courses are supported by coaching. So some of the business courses have both live group and individual coaching. And then as well, there's a phase coach, who's the higher level person that can help see your transition from phase to phase. Our core learning management system has 3 pillars: business fuel, leadership fuel, and personal fuel. All 3 of these are equally important, because we believe that in order to build yourself as a successful business person, you also must build your leadership skills and then do the inner work that you need to do to get beyond the blocks and kind of the psychology of the things that keep us from moving forward and evolving. So we feel all 3 of these subject areas are important and essential in the business growth of an entrepreneur, a conscious entrepreneur. And then all of our members get access to our backend platform. This is where you access the training, and it's also where you get access to the member directory, and you can register for events and so forth. It's called Shift Connect. And then these are the membership levels. So based on where your business is at is what you pay per month. We keep the rates relatively low so that you have additional available funds to be able to pursue other things that support your business. You're not just paying all of your money to SchiffCo to help support your business, but you also have, you can budget your funds for other things to support what you're doing. And with that, it's indeed time to grow. So Admira, thank you so much for the presentation. Everyone who came today, thank you for attending. If you have any questions, Admira put, I think, her information in the chat. And then you can register for any of our future events. Just go to schiffco.global/events, and we'd love to see you again. So thanks so much, everyone. Have a great day.
Bye, everyone.
Thank you. Thank you,
Thank you
Admira.
for coming.
Thank you.